And this is Moviesucktastic masterpiece, Master McMoviesucktastic PC Theater.
Okay.
As we read from The Terrible Game. I'll be starting off where I think we left off a couple months ago. Jonathan felt his face grow warm. Anyone who didn't ask questions about a situation like this, Dad, would have to be just plain crazy. His father chuckled. I hope sometime I can tell you exactly how this is all about. How much, Jonathan? You are helping with something really important. Jonathan looked down at his saddle. His curiosity was eating him up, consuming him. He'd been able to think of nothing else for 2 days. He knew now he must find out what they were doing, why they were doing this. He looked up at his father. I know one thing, he said. With our Asiatic wrestling and lacquered leather armor and Steppe's ponies, it's got to do with the Mongols. The Mongols are now inside Russia, so it's got to do with the USSR. Jonathan searched his father's expression. He thought he saw an appreciative gleam in the humorous blue eyes, but couldn't be sure. You guess all you want, Jonathan, but you don't let your guesses go beyond the two of us. It's important we don't have anybody else guessing what we are doing. He paused. I can tell you this, though. It is something really important to the peace of the world. His change of expression dismissed the subject. Make a note on your calendar, Jonathan. 2 weeks from tonight, we're expected for a black tie dinner at the Russian embassy. Their ambassador is rolling out the red carpet for Russia's #1 parachute general. Parachute general? Who is coming to the U.S. on a visit. Official Washington will be there en masse, that doesn't make sense, to try to demonstrate our desire for friendly relationships and world peace. General Bellick is not only their top expert on parachute warfare.
Parachute warfare?
That's what I said.
I'm assuming just people with weapons jumping out of planes with parachutes?
They might be using the parachutes to fight. I'm reading quiet. He is also their greatest athlete. You remember he won the decathlon and several other events in the last Olympics. Finally. Jonathan was delighted. Everyone had heard of General Bellick, the most versatile athlete the Olympics had produced since Jim Thorpe. They rode over the hill at the fair.
That's obviously why the film picked the gymnastics and Olympics.
Well, we finally have something in common with the film.
Yes.
But you're interrupting me again. They rode over the hill at the far end of the pasture, and Jonathan saw a big wooden T made of 4x4s. It was It was about 12 feet high and looked like a gallows. From each end of the horizontal piece hung a cord with a ring knotted to its end. The ring hung down to about the height of his shoulder as he sat on his horse. 2 thin lances, about 13 feet long, were leaning against the crossbar with their butt ends on the grass. Jonathan's father picked one up without dismounting and hefted it until he found its center of gravity, a bit front of center. Jonathan noticed that the foot-long steel point was flush with the hickory shaft, with no barb or projection of any kind. We're going to spend about 20 minutes learning how to spear these hanging rings as we ride by. Jonathan picked up the other lance and hefted it the way his father had.
You read good.
I'm not reading good, shut up. It's a lot harder than it looks, his father said, because the up and down motion of the horse. To spear the ring, you've got to eliminate that by standing up in the stirrups and flexing your knees to keep your body level while the horse rises and falls under you. You'll just have to try to walk it at first. Jonathan measured the rings with his eyes. They weren't more than 1.5 inches in diameter, just barely big enough for the lance to go through. Looked impossible. I've got 2 pages to go, but I don't think I can make it. So we're going to stop right there.
All right, put a little tick mark or something.
Coming up next episode, you stay here, Jonathan. This is how you'll be doing it in a few days. And that was The Terrible Game, which was eventually turned into the blockbuster smash hit Gymkata.
You were wrong on everything except Gymkata.
We're on page 14, by the way.
Of what, 250-page book?
No, 143. This is back when they did.
143. Oh, okay.
Back when
it's like a novella.
Well, this is back when books were that readable. It was, they didn't, it wasn't like everything had to be 500 pages long.
Thank God.
Look at the cover. You don't want 500 pages of that. I don't want 143 pages of that, but we're going to get through it.
We're going to do it.
Yes.
If we stuck to it, we might be on page 19 by now.
Yeah, that's true. But we're back on the case. We're back on the case.